Good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So finally, we have some confirmation as undefeated 3-division world champion, former undisputed junior welterweight world champion, currently the WBO World Boxing Organization reigning welterweight world champion, superstar boxer who is widely considered by many to be the #1 best pound-for-pound boxer in the world, in Terence "Bud" Crawford. 38 wins, no loss and no draw, 29 big wins by way of knockout. He is 34 years of age, 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach. He's coming off of the biggest victory of his career, defeating two-time welterweight world champion superstar boxer Showtime Shawn Porter in the fashion that nobody has ever beaten Shawn Porter, dropping Shawn Porter twice in the 10th round and ultimately getting the stoppage as Shawn Porter's father, trainer, and manager Kenny Porter saw enough and waved the white towel. With that said, everybody wondered what was next for Terence "Bud" Crawford. Okay, Terence Crawford then in a post-fight press conference, he then addressed, what everybody was looking for, which was the situation that was brewing between his longtime promotional company and himself, between legendary promoter, top-ranked CEO and promoter Bob Arum, ESPN, and Top Rank. And after that, Terence Crawford, he let the world know, and Bob Arum know right there to his face, "I'm out, I'm leaving." He said Bob Arum couldn't secure the big fights in the Errol Spence fight when I was with him. He won't be able to secure it when I'm leaving him. I wish everybody the best here moving forward. So he announced that he was leaving. And not long after, Terence Crawford decided to take top-ranked Bob Arum to court, okay? And he cited that they dropped the ball in his career. They wasn't promoting him correctly, and they never secured the fights that they promised him, okay? And so obviously the fight that everybody's looking for is Terence "Bud" Crawford, which makes for the biggest fight in the sport of boxing between himself and undefeated unified WBC IBF welterweight world champion superstar boxer who is widely considered by many to be the #1 best pound, to be top 3 best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, and Errol Spence Jr., who has 27 wins, no loss and no draws, 21 wins by way of knockout. He is 31 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach, okay? That makes for the biggest fight in the sport of boxing. Now, Errol Spence, he's going into a massive unification showdown April 16th, Arlington, Texas, AT&T Dallas Cowboys Stadium, against Cuban star boxer who is currently the WBA, World Boxing Association welterweight world champion, that being UGAS. UGAS is 27 wins, 4 losses, no draws, 12 wins by way of knockout, 35 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 69-inch arm reach. With that said, that's a unification. About 3 belts will be on the line. And then Errol Spence, he let it be known it's about the road to undisputed. He confirms that I'm going after Terence "Bud" Crawford after this fight, and then I'm possibly moving up to junior welterweight, okay? 154 pounds, okay? Now, what's interesting here is that we know that Errol Spence's stablemate, 2-time junior middleweight world champion superstar boxer who currently is the unified junior middleweight world champion, Jermell Charlo, he campaigns there, and he's going into a massive undisputed showdown with WBO junior middleweight world champion star boxer out of Argentina in Brian Castano. That has just been postponed because Brian Castano suffered a injury. The fight was scheduled to take place March 19th, but Brian Castano, he suffered an injury, okay? That's for undisputed, and it's a rematch, and the first fight ended in a draw. So there was reports that Terence Crawford could be possibly looking to fight Jermell Charlo, Brian Castano winner, and if he don't get the Errol Spence fight, that way that puts him in the driver's seat in negotiations, because should he beat the likes of a Jermell Charlo at 154 and becomes undisputed in 2 separate weight classes and a 4-division champion, well, and he beats Errol Spence to the punch, because he knows that Errol Spence has a high interest in becoming undisputed. So if he don't get the fight and he decides to move up, well, then Errol Spence is going to stay at 147 to capture that WBO belt, and whomever vacates it or fights for the vacant WBO belt, that will possibly be against a fellow Dallas Texian, Virgil Ortiz Jr., who's an undefeated Mexican superstar boxer who's 18 wins, no loss, no draw, 18 wins by way of knockout. He is 24 years of age, 5'10" with a 70-inch arm reach, okay? He's #1 in the WBO rankings. So if that belt, if Terence Crawford was to vacate the WBO belt, Terence Crawford can make himself the mandatory challenger for the winner, Brian Castano and Jermell Charlo, because whomever wins that fight will hold the WBO title, and he could mandate and petition the WBO, and they will automatically push him to the front of the line, okay? And just like Virgil Ortiz Jr., he'll be in line to fight for the vacant WBO title, which will more than likely be against Errol Spence Jr., which seeing that he's already #1 in the WBC as well, okay? And that would give Terence Crawford the opportunity to jump ahead of the line, attempt to get those belts. So when Errol Spence does move up, then he'll be the one that Errol Spence has to go through. And now he has a bigger negotiating chip because he's now undisputed in 2 separate weight classes. So we heard these reports from Team Crawford, but we didn't hear it directly from Team Crawford that the only fight he wants next is Errol Spence. And if not, he's going to fight Jermell Charlo, Brian Castano winner. Well, now we have confirmation, and shout out to Michelle Joy Phelps, and shout out to Behind the Gloves, because Michelle Joy Phelps, she asked the questions that we wanted to hear. She got the answers that we wanted to hear, and shout out to Michelle Joy Phelps. You could hear the entire interview on Michelle Joy Phelps Behind the Gloves, okay? So she's on deck in the UK, where you have Terence Crawford supporting a guy that he's been helping train, a guy that he fought, multi-division world champion, a British superstar boxer, Amir King Kong, who's going to fight in one of the biggest fights in British history against former IBF and another rival foe of Terence Bud Crawford in Special K. Kell Brook, former IBF welterweight world champion, British superstar boxer. Now, Terence Crawford, he stopped both of these guys, but he has a relationship with Amir Khan, and he's helped prepare Amir Khan for this long-awaited showdown. So she's on hand in the UK, and Terence Crawford is there, and she asked the questions that we want to hear. So let's listen to what Terence Crawford had to say. Now, she asked the question right now. She says, the fight that we all been wanting is you versus Errol Spence, and how important is it to you for you to get this fight for your career and for the fans? And so Terence Crawford, he reiterates what he normally reiterates, and that's, the fight is important for me. I want to have the fight. I've been calling for the fight for years. But if it happens, it happens. If it don't, it don't. So then she goes on to let him know, well, the fans are not happy if this fight doesn't happen. So shout out to Michelle Joy Phelps for keeping it 100 and asking the questions and responding the way we want somebody to respond when asking these questions in person, because she follows up by saying, well, the fans ain't happy. We want to see this fight. Okay, she didn't leave it as that. And then he says, well, the fans got to push for it. So listen to what Michelle Joy Phelps and Terence Crawford had to say.
Well, like I said, I want that fight. If it happens, it happens. I've been calling for it for years now. If it don't, it don't.
So you're okay if it never happens? Because us fight fans aren't okay with that.
So you see, us fight fans, we ain't okay. Shouts out to Michelle Joy Phelps and Behind the Gloves for doing this. That's keeping it 100. Because most people wouldn't follow up with that. They would have just let it go. And listen what Terence Crawford had to say.
The fight fans got to be the ones that push for it.
Okay.
You got to be the ones that demand it. I did my part. I've done my part since being professional by going through everybody that they put in front of me. I can't see what I can do
different.
So now he's saying that, he took the professional route. He fought who was in front of him. He took the fights that was available to him, and he didn't get, unprofessional in his approach to making this fight happen with Errol Spence Jr. So he's saying that he wants the Spence versus UGAS winner. Really, obviously, everybody want to see Errol Spence, but here's the part where he calls out Jermell Charlo, Brian Castano. Obviously, it would be Jermell Charlo, everybody's favoring to win the fight, so that's who everybody will point to.
Or anymore, if I can't get the Spence UGAS winner, I would love to get the Jermell and Castano winner.
So there you have it. So he let it be known that if I can't get the winner of this fight, okay, I'm definitely going to go the route of, fighting Brian Castano, Jermell Charlo winner, okay? So, with that said, this is something that everybody has been clamoring for, trying to figure out what Terence Crawford's next move was going to be, okay? And now we have he clarifies it. He lets us know the route that he's going is to go ahead and fight. You know, he's going to go ahead and he's going to fight, you know, the winner of Brian Castano, Jermell Charlo, if he can't get the Errol Spence fight. Now, obviously, this should be easier to make, seeing as though Terence Crawford is network promotional free agent. Errol Spence said he wants this fight. Obviously, we know that the PBC, Premier Boxing Champions, is where Errol Spence lies. And we know we heard the comments made by Tim Smith, who was a spokesman for PBC. But this fight has to happen. And if it don't happen, Jermell Charlo is also with the PBC, and so is Brian Castano. So those are two fights that has to happen, because either which way, he has to go the PBC route to get what he's looking for. So I understand the reasoning to go to 154, and this is huge news, and I'm glad that Terence Crawford is stating that he wants this fight now. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. First things first, obviously, another fight that Terence Crawford could make that everybody's looking for is Terence Crawford versus former unified welterweight world champion superstar boxer Keith one-time Thurman, who made his comeback February 5th against former WBA junior welterweight regular champion Mexican star boxer Mario Barrios, which he got a unanimous decision. There was talks that Keith Thurman and Terence Crawford could fight in July, but Terence Crawford makes it clear his next fight needs to be Errol Spence or Jermell Charlo, Brian Castano winner. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. But that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. Make sure y'all turn on that bell icon to get all the new notifications. Peace.